Hello, in this video I'm just going to wrap up the controls on the Gecko. So here are most of the controls done. So I have most of the FK controls finished. Well, actually all of them that I'm going to use for now. FK means forward kinematics, so if I rotate something just manually, everything's going to follow. Now, in the case of the left arm here, the elbow and the hand are children, so the elbow and hand will follow the arm, and vice versa with the clavicle. Oh, and I can see that's an area I can put a little bit of weighting in, so I'm going to touch that up when I'm done here. Okay, so I'm just going to keep hitting 0 until all the rotations are zeroed out. Make sure that I don't have any sticking around. Okay, that's good. So always just hit 0, or pardon me, hit Z to zero out your tests. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to make pull vector controls for the feet. I'll create them and then I'll show you what they're used for. I'm also going to make a Spline IK handle for the tail. So Spline IK it's used for things like tails, spines. I don't use them often for spines, but you can. And then lastly, like I was saying earlier, everything is hierarchical. Everything is moving, following its parent. Almost everything. Okay, so it looks like I still need to take the head and, pardon me, the neck here, and I need to parent it to the last spine. So let's do this. P. Okay, I'll do that again. All right. Now, as I do that, you can see a few areas where I'm getting a little bit of crushing there in the geometry. So it'll be worth a little bit of a tune-up. So perhaps I'll just do a maybe like a sped-up video of fixing that. Okay, so we'll start with the pull vectors. So I'm going to go to the side and I'm going to create another circle, axis and X. Great. Let's scale it up a little bit, move it, and I just want it directly in front of the knee. Okay, now I'm also going to come in and just edit the CVs here. Okay, so I think I'm just going to take these two. I'm going to make something, I don't know, maybe like an arrowhead or something, just to maybe a little different look. Grabbing all three, and I'm going to scale those. Okay, that's cool. So I'm going to delete the history, any history on the objects, and I will freeze the transformations once I get it in front of the Gecko where I want it. I suppose I could go to the top view for that. Okay, just so it's kind of facing straight out. And I think I might just rotate it a little bit too. Just kind of coming straight out from the leg there. Okay, so now I'm going to freeze transformations. Really important. I'm going to do that with every controller you make. Almost every controller. And so what I'm going to do now is so I froze the transformations, but at this, just for now, I'm going to duplicate this to the X side. So I'm going to modify, reset the transformation as well. So Control-Shift-Click. I'm going to middle mouse drag this and move it over here. Okay, so now if I reset the transformation, it puts the origin at 0. And then I can Control-D, duplicate it, and scale it in -X, -1, and that'll duplicate it over to the side. I guess I could have mirrored it too. Okay, so now I'm going to, let's go to Modify Center Pivot, and do the same thing here. G to repeat the last command. All right, and so now I'm going to freeze the transforms on both of these. No negative scale. All right, so that's good. So now what I need to do is make a pole vector constraint. You know, I might just scale these just a little bit. So I'm going to double click on scale. Oh, pardon me, this is the scale right here. I'm going to double click on the scale here, and so for the pivot, if I've got two things selected, it'll want to pivot by the zeroing, but I'm just going to do it by the center pivot, and that should do them both independently. Yeah. Just figured I'd make it a little bit smaller. Okay, that's good. Once again, freeze the transformations. Okay. And so now I'm going to go to, I just put this icon here, but we'll go back again. Let's go to rigging, skeleton, and I'm going to make an IK, pardon me, a pole vector constraint over here. So constrain pole vector. So let's just Control-Shift-Click, add one. Okay. All right, so in order to do that, I select the left controller first, and then I'm going to Shift select the left foot IK, and now we'll go to constrain, which I already put it up there, but we'll do a constraint, a pole vector constraint. There we go. So now the leg wobbled just a hair when I put that on, and it has a lot to do with the placement and the math of the plane in which the 3 points of the leg reside, and there's ways to make that more accurate. I'm not going to get into that with this particular rig. Okay, once again, Control and the right foot IK and pole vector constraint. There we go. And what these do is they allow you to twist the leg. Okay. And when you lift this leg, and if you move it far enough out, the leg can twist in ugly ways. So I'm going to hit 0. The reason for that is you always want this ahead. You always want this pointing in front of the knees where they bend. So the easiest solution, in my opinion, here is just to select this, and P to parent. So now if you move this up, the pole vector goes along for the ride, and it's going to keep the leg straight. And we'll do the same thing here. P for parent. Now, of course, we need to rename these. So left underscore leg underscore, and I call this a PVC, pole vector constraint. Right underscore leg underscore PVC, pole vector controller. Okay, so that's how you make a pole vector control. Okay, so now I'm going to make my Spline IK control for the tail. That's going to be under skeleton, create IK spline. Here's the icon right there. So click on that. Then I'm going to click the first joint and the last. Now you're going to see that that kind of changed the shape of the tail. I could take steps to keep it from doing that, but for the sake of brevity, we'll just go with it from there. I know that probably stands a little against what I was going over with getting the skeleton all zeroed out, but just in the interest of time, we're going to leave it as is. Okay. Actually, I'm going to undo that because I need to make sure, let's delete that. Skeleton. I need to make sure that I can see the, pardon me, the controls here. So I'm going to reset everything. So it automatically parents the curve. I'm not going to do that. I do want to make just have another span here. So we'll do that. Okay. So now click on this and that. And again, we'll just not worry about the deformation there. I think this is actually looks a little bit better, so that's why I'm not worried about it. Okay, now I'm going to template the gecko. And I'm going to come here to the curve that was just created for me, and this is the tail. Let's call it IK. Okay, now I'm going to turn off joint selection, so I only want curve selected for now. Now, if I so I've got this curve selected. If I come in, you can see that this curve is following the curve is following the joints. Okay. So what I'm going to do right now, if I do control vertex, you can see that I've got these little CVs that I've used for like just the same thing as the CVs here. And what I'm going to do is just select these, and now what I'm going to do is, so if I right click here, actually let's right click here. Oh, this is under component mode. Right click and NURB CVs here. Okay, so let's right click, go to the CVs. Now you can see one here, there's a CV, and so the way they work is if I grab one, it's going to control the curve, so get some fun control that way. So I'm going to undo that. And I'm going to come down and I'm going to select this first one. Now, we don't want to have to right click and grab CVs in order to control the tail, so we need something to control the CVs with, and the way we're going to do that with is going to deform, and we're going to create a cluster, which is like a little handle. And I've got that icon right here, so let's just click that. Now, once you make a cluster, you can see a little C there. All right, let's come back to, we should rename this, tail cluster underscore 1. Actually, we'll call it 0. And come back here, right click, control vertices. Got another one here. Let's make a cluster. And I'm going to copy this, paste here, get one. The curve, CV, grab this one, make a cluster for it. Paste 2. Cluster. And let's see. One more here. I think I'm going to have one at the end as well, so let's just double check. Nope, just have it coming down to there, okay? So I've got 5 clusters. So now if we want to move the clusters, we could, if we right click here, enable clusters, then this is partially enabled, and so then I can move them. But I'm just going to put it back in place so it's all zeroed out. Okay, and then what I want to do is so I copied this earlier to make a cluster handle. So let's modify center pivot and make this just a little smaller. I'm going to rotate it around. So kind of following the direction the cluster is moving in. Let's press insert and hold down V or click on this and clusters on, so we can make sure that okay, and that looks like it's snapped. Actually, not quite. On V, snap it. There we go. So it snaps right underneath the C. So I'm going to undo that because I didn't want to move the whole thing. So let's go back to D or insert, and then V for the point. I don't need to rotate it. D and V, snap. There we go. Now I got it where I want it. That. It snaps right to the bottom of the C. Freeze transformations, and that is till control, till 0 control. let's put the 0 here. And then if I duplicate this, Control D, then it's going to give it a 1. Put this one up here. W, E, let's snap it. Control D again. Rotate a bit. W, B, snap. And here I'm going to right click the hull and scale it down just a little bit. Do the same thing here. Scale it down a little bit, but not as much. Object mode, and then Control D one more time. Excuse me. Here I'll just scale it down like that. Offset doesn't have to be as large. W, hold down V, snap. There we go. Freeze transformations. Also delete history. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we are going to constrain the controls to the handles. Let's do that. Q to get that out of the way. Constrain. And click on apply. Put constrain there. So let's do the same thing here. Apply. Okay, so now if we move these, that's how we can move our tail. Z to put that back at the start. Now, if we were to move this, tail's not going anywhere. So what we should do is take this first cluster and we're going to parent it. We're going to just parent it to this guy right here. Let's do a parent constrain. So grab this and the first cluster, and let's do a parent constrain, maintain offset, apply. So now if we move forward, the cluster follows. It's kind of cool how that follows the curve. Z to undo. And then what we could do is take all of these and we could parent them to this guy, which is the hips. It's not the hips control, it's the spine 1 control. That's actually the tail 1 control. Or better yet, the tail Okay. So tilt control. And let's grab the cluster 0, or the first one rather. Oh, okay, it's already constrained. So what we want to do is then just select all these, and this, and then we are just going to parent these under the tail control. So those are all there. So if we move the whole thing, there it goes. Everything goes with it. And then we could do this. Zip. So let's undo that, undo this, and undo that. Now these Spline IK controls can be tricky. You can parent the curve so it follows. Usually don't do that. But you want to be careful how you manage this first cluster. So it's just constrained to this first controller here. So there's the Spline IK. So the whole thing is just about ready to go. There's one thing we need to do here. And if we do this, grab that, we can also, rotate the whole thing. So need to make one more controller. So again, I want to be able to rotate the hips so that they move independently from the whole hierarchy. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just take this control that I made, I'm going to duplicate it, Control D. And what that did is when I duplicated that, it made duplicate controls up here. So I need to Shift P, take it out of the hierarchy, come here and get rid of each one of these. Okay, so I don't have duplicates. And this one's going to be called the the hips. Now, I've already got another hip, which is this one. That's the hips control. Let's call this one hips ROT control. All right, so this is now independent. So let's grab it. And probably would have just been smarter to make a newer curve. All right, now I want to make sure that this one stands out from that one. So I'm gonna just position it here. Okay, I think that's fine. Let's scale it a little bit like that. A little bit like that. Very good. Now we are going to click on Insert, click on this or hold down V, make sure that joints are on. I'm going to turn off the clusters, B, and I'm just going to snap it right there onto the hips. Okay. Now I'm going to freeze the transforms, very important. And let's delete the history. Okay, so now we've got just a little thing we need to do. So right now, the orient constraint for the hip is on, or for the, yeah, it's on the hip control, the first one here. So I'm going to take off the orient constraint for the hips, which is up here. And if we follow it down, it's all the way down here. So I've got a hips point constraint. I want that because if I do this, it's going to move, and that's exactly what I want. But I want it to rotate independently. So I'm going to delete the orient constraint. So now this will still move, but okay, so it is rotating, but actually, you know what? I don't know if I even needed that extra one. Yeah, I did. The thing that I need to do here is yeah, I do want those to do that, but I need this one to be able to rotate the hip independently. Okay, so let's take the hip. Actually, sorry, let's do this first. Grab that. Then let's control click on the hips, and we're going to do an orient constraint here. Maintain offset, add. Okay, so now this one controls the rotation of the hips, and we really need to be able to do this without needing to counter rotate it as if I would have had just this, because every time you bend one way or the other, then you have to counter bend the entire back, and we don't want to do that. So now we've got independent rotation just on the hips. So we made another controller. This is controlling the rotation on the hips, and this is controlling the translation on the hips. Problem is, okay, what happens now, because we don't want to leave the hips behind, so here all we do is just parent the hip rotate control to the hip P. So now if we move the hip control, everything goes along for the ride, except for the feet, because you want those to move separately. And now this one rotates independently. So that's how we rig a very simple rig. Might have got a little more, maybe a little more complicated than maybe we would like, but it now works. We didn't, rig up the eyes or anything. Okay, so now what do we do? We've got all of our controls, and we've got our hips, and we've got our controls, and we've got our geometry. So we're going to select all the geometry, Control G, and make a group. That's just a container. I'll just call it Gecko. Now we're going to add the skeleton and Control G, and we've got our skeleton. And now we're going to add all of this goop and Control G, and these are now controls. Okay. Now, if I were to move just the controls around, it is going to act a little goofy, because what it's actually doing is the tail is acting silly because it is a child of the controls, and it is also a child of the hips. So if the hips is moving, that's going to move. But if this group moves also, we're going to get what you call a double transform, because it's being moved twice. So in this particular model, you don't want to move the controls like this. This is just a placeholder, just to put them all together. When I want to move a character around, I will select this, and this, and this, and then I can move the whole thing. Or I can put a group node underneath and just group these things under it. But you don't want to move it with that. Okay, one last thing. We don't want to show the IK handles. So this is a tail IK. So I'm going to do a Control H. We don't need to show the clusters, so a Control H to hide them. And we could just group the, how about if we group all these? Control G. So this is under the controls, and this is just the, I'll just call it IK. No. Okay, so that's cleaning up the hierarchy. Now, it's always good to differentiate the colors. So let's grab the right controls. And then here we can go to display. Let's go to wireframe color. Let's make these kind of red. Or actually we can do RGB. Okay, apply. So I like to make my right side controls red, and let's grab this one too. RGB. Select red. Apply. Apply. There we go. Oh, it's all red. Here, let's take this, and it should just do them all. Let's do both of these. Display wireframe color. Oops. Display wireframe color. Oh, my box is over here. Let's do RGB again. Turn that up. Green. And that's good. Apply. Okay, so my left is green, my right is red, so that'll help a little bit with selections. And I think maybe I'll color the hip mover. And let's see, what do we want to do? How about yellow? Lighter blue. No. How about a blue-green? Apply. There we go. So now I can differentiate my controls. Okay. That's good. We've got a happy gecko. Move it like that, and these will do that. I suppose I could make a different color for the tail. Display. I don't know, orange? Sure. Okay, that was fun. I hope y'all like rigging. I know it's a little complicated, but this is enough to probably get you through most of your projects. You probably want a little bit more maybe in your final projects, but this could get you through first year's projects easy. So, thank you so much. Have a great day. Bye-bye.